The Main Event, aka Pandering the Movie, is a WWE and Netflix co-production, a Netflix original about a boy named Leo, who is a WWE fan, so much that he loves to watch stuff like Friday Night SmackDown with his grandma, who's also a WWE fan. His grandma that looks like she's about 40 years old, and she has a crush on Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston, by the way, who is almost 40 years old. I couldn't quite get over that, but this is about how subtle they are. This is about how subtle they are with the pandering. Obviously, since it's a WWE film and since Netflix is working with them, this is about how subtle. It's like they're taking one of these and hammering you in the head every scene. That's basically what they do. That's essentially how, subtle they are with this. Now, it is obviously geared towards kids and families. I am clearly beyond the demographic to watch this, but even then, I'm like, I'll lower my expectations and I'll watch it. I fucking hated this movie. It was goddamn rotten. It was atrocious. It wasn't even so much a movie. It was a goddamn marketing campaign to prove that WWE allows fans to live out their dreams. All they have to do is find a magical luchador mask that gives them the powers to compete in the ring. No, really, that is how Leo is able to do that. And he is doing this because he found out that his dad has been working 2 jobs since his mom left. He doesn't know why his mom left. His dad won't really talk to him about it, even though the grandma's trying, and she's helping out around the house and tries to get him to talk to Leo about it. Like, you really need to talk to him about it. They have this weird, strained relationship that's so fucking cliche. It's not even, a good kind of cliche where you can get some kind of, emotion out of it. No, it's just really fucking sappy and so phoned in. 4 people wrote the screenplay for this. 4 people. And it's like they had the combined brain power of, a lobotomized gnat. I mean, I know it's made for kids. It wasn't meant to be taken all that seriously, but the special effects were rotten. Once he puts on this mask and finds out that he has these powers, he's like, okay, I can compete. I can do this stuff. I can get into this tournament. It's a tournament, basically, where if he actually gets into the final 16, he can compete to win a $50,000 prize and help out his dad so his dad doesn't lose the house. And he can contribute, and maybe he can grow, and have a relationship with his dad. Maybe eventually find out why his mom left. We find out in one scene that the dad says, what do I tell him? That she met some other guy and went off to New York? That's all we hear. That's all we hear at all. He does have a good relationship with his grandmother, and I'll say people played their parts fine, but there were no characters in this. It was all strictly marketing and bashing you over the head with this stuff so damn much. It was so sanitized. It was so ridiculous. And look, I am a fan of WWE, and maybe if I was a kid, I might enjoy this. But you know what? I'm not. I'm a cynical jackass, and I hate it. Hated this movie. It's one of the worst things I've seen this year. Kids and families will enjoy this. There is no doubt about that. But Kofi's his favorite superstar. That'll factor in a little bit. Even trying to sum up the plot isn't really going to matter. There were a bunch of wrestlers that they had in this, obviously, some NXT talents and some talents that they did not have contracted. And I'm sure there were others that weren't credited that I just totally fucking missed. They had these tests or whatever. And Babatunde, I believe that's how it's said. He was a guy that was in the Greatest Royal Rumble, I believe. And the first Saudi Arabia show that they did, and he hasn't been featured much at all on NXT TV, if at all, just on house shows. He's a big hulking guy that actually looks like he could be something, but he's like the villain called Samson, and he's got this generic manager from the late 70s, early 80s. He's like a bastardized version of Jimmy Hart, but without the megaphone charisma or the ability to be interesting. And to be fair, the guy was just playing a character. He's just playing a cartoon character version of a wrestling manager. But, they were doing all these tests and everything, and obviously because Leo, who calls himself Kid Chaos, is, he's doing all this stuff really well, doing these agility tests, jumping back and forth, on the, from one turnbuckle to the other, straight across the ring. Nobody can do that, at least not more than once, and not without crashing. But oh no, the big man doesn't like heights, and that gets exploited a little bit later. It is sanitized, it's bullshit, it's freaking stupid, but it's made for kids. So it's not meant to be taken all that seriously. The problem is, this movie isn't just like, say, 80 minutes, 85 minutes. This movie is an hour and 43 minutes. And it's 95 to 96 minutes before the credits start. This thing's at least 10 to 15 minutes longer than it actually needs to be, and some stuff is torturously drawn out. Now, again, Leo has to balance having this newfound fame because he gets over, he's facing people. Let me just tell you a few people that they had in this movie as far as wrestlers. They had Keith Lee, who was called Smooth Operator, talking about how it's his dream to be in WWE. Babatunde, as I mentioned. Renee Young. Renee Young gets off one good line at Corey Graves during this because they do commentary for the main event, which featured a steel cage that was apparently taken right out of the Jim Hurt era. It actually looked like the Thunder cage. It was silly. We had Kofi, he made an appearance. Sheamus was a referee. The Miz, he was on there mainly as an MC. Otis played a guy that farted at his opponents to beat them. I'm not fucking kidding. That's where I was like, okay, fuck this movie. Fuck it. You know what? I know it's for kids, but for God's sakes. Bugenhagen, the guy who does Let's Rock. I'm not even going to try to do the high-pitched voice. Me again. Randy Myers was apparently in this as well. I don't know where he was. I don't think he was in there for very long. Ravenous Randy Myers, a talent that's wrestled in a lot of local promotions here and in a lot all over the country. He was... Natty helped, Natty, I guess, helped train him, if I recall correctly. He worked in the dungeon with Natty, which is saying something, because she talked about it in her photo shoot. She says, well, here's me suplexing Ravenous Randy Myers. Great guy, by the way. Got a chance to meet him. But anyway, let's get back to this. Oh, boy. Oh, good God, this movie. I can't even mix words. Fucking hate it. They did the stereotypical stuff where it's like, oh, no, the villains are trying to screw him over. He's got such, He's got, such assured feet, because the mask gives him powers. Let's make him slippery. Let's put some weird gel, some KY jelly apparently, or something, and make the kid slip. Where the manager got that much, I have no idea. He's doing anything to win. But of course, he manages to get through to the finals. It gets found out that he's, his secret identity, he is a kid, so obviously he can't win the goddamn contract. Oh, and then he also has some friends, and he agrees to be in a talent show with this girl that he likes, but he skips out on that because the fame goes to his head. And he gets an ego. And then all of a sudden, guess what happens? We get to where he comes to an agreement with the kids literally like 5 minutes later. Like he says, hey, can you forgive me? I'll let my ego go to my head. The girl says, you can't really judge a man until you've walked a mile in his mask. Oh, and by the way, they dance to It's Tricky, because that's a timely song. I was mostly a kid when, I think I was close to being a kid or just about a teenager when that song came out. They go to the main event, the cage match and everything. Renee Young gets one good line off of Corey Graves, because Graves is talking and everything, and, if you know this, you know that Renee Young was severely held down being a commentator, and says, one of them might even die. She's like, no one's going to die, Renee. And she says, well, no, somebody might. That was, I don't know why that line popped me. Probably because I had given up fully on this movie by this point. And he beats Samson because he uses, the power of observation. Like, oh no, they switched the masks, so no wonder I can't beat him. And then he has the mask in his tights, throws it down, and then throws it, and it catches on the cage wall. Somehow. In the most contrived way. The kid tries to get up there. The dad's trying to stop him, saying, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? He's trying to, they did better getting him off the cage than Doug Dillinger did for, Sting before Wrestle War 90 when Sting tore his ACL. But anyway, guess what happens? Oh no, he's using his fear of heights, and he falls on him with an elbow drop and pins him. Because apparently fear of heights causes you to be knocked out. And he pins him. And he wins. And he can't win an NXT contract because he's 11 years old, though. That didn't stop some wrestling promotions from signing people that had no business being in the wrestling ring, but I digress. But he wins $50,000. He gives his opportunity to Keith Lee, the Smooth Operator, and now that song's stuck in your head too because he gets to live his dream. And then we go from there. He has the money, so hey, he can help out his dad. Cool. It's a happy, hunky-dory story, and then we go to the credits just as he's about to fight this bully on the wrestling team. He's about to face him. It's like, oh, let's see how you are without the mask. Yeah, let's see. Please don't do a sequel. Please don't. Kofi Kingston greets a kid, says, hey, great job. And sees the grandma, and we do all this, hitting on stuff. It's very uncomfortable, and then smash cut to credits. I'm not gonna lie, I hated this movie. I hated it. It wasn't even much of a movie. It was marketing. That's all it fucking was. And I just reviewed The Big Show. That was a sitcom that at least knew what it was. This had a budget to it and was one of the most contrived bullshit flicks that I've seen in a while. So yeah, F. It gets an F. It's one of the worst movies I've seen this year. Kids and families will enjoy it. And if you have kids or WWE fans, they will likely enjoy this. I'm a WWE fan. I'm a wrestling fan, and I did not. This was as bad as Ready to Rumble. Ready to Rumble at least had the excuse of being out in 2000 when no one could take anything in WCW seriously. And sure, WWE may be kind of on its ass creatively now, but I don't know how this is going to help turn on anybody to WWE except to see, oh, gee, I wonder what bullshit they could pull off here. If this is what they're doing, let's see the bullshit they put on TV. Oh, this isn't nearly as entertaining. Click. That's all it's going to do. Anyway, agree, disagree what I said. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.